What's up, guys? So here we go, UFC 254. Such an amazing event. I think I'll be doing the main card on this video, and I think I'm gonna do another video with the prelims because it has pretty cool prelims as well. Well, let's get to it. So the main event, Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Justin Gaethje. Man, what an amazing fight! When they say styles make fights, this is one of those where this is going to be Khabib's toughest test, not just in the UFC, but in his entire career. Well, of course, in his entire career, Justin Gaethje is going to be the guy that I think out of every single fighter that Khabib has fought, Justin Gaethje is going to be the guy that I give the most chance to beating Khabib. So I'm picking Khabib to win either by submission or maybe a decision. But since I like to officially make picks with a round and a method, I'm gonna go with Khabib by submission round 3. But man, Gaethje, this is the thing about that Khabib has that I've talked about in the times that I've talked about his fights versus Conor versus Poirier. Khabib's takedown ability is so good, it's so high level that it reminds me of basically his opponents have the same problem that the people that fought GSP had. How do you go? Like, how does Gaethje go into this fight, and how does he let his hands go when he has to anticipate the takedown? That's really the problem when you fight Khabib. It's not necessarily can Gaethje stop the takedown or can anyone stop the takedown. It's more of a how do you fight? How do you put an offense when you're worried about the takedown? Because it's not like there's been guys that have stopped Khabib's takedowns. Conor did a few times round 3, 2-3 times round 3. Quinta did several times as well. I think early, this is one way back, but I think the fight with Gleison Tibau, he was one that stopped a lot of takedowns from Khabib. Justin Gaethje definitely has the credentials. He was an NCAA champion back in 2010. And he has a lot of power, and he's a better striker and a better kicker. So, it's one of those fights where every single moment that this fight stays on the feet, pretty sure Gaethje is going to be the one landing the kicks, landing the punches. Normally, that is what you would see. But once again, how does he do that when he has to be prepared for Khabib to take him down? To be honest, I feel like the way how this fight's gonna go, it's not gonna be based on the striking or the wrestling. I'm convinced it's gonna be into whose cardio holds up the best. Even though, so Gaethje surprised me his last fight versus Tony because his cardio was good all the way till round 5, and I picked Gaethje to win by TKO, and you can go look it up yourself. It's on my videos, but I was convinced that if the fight went past round 2, that Tony would take over, and so that was one thing that I was surprised about Gaethje, how he was able to last the entire 5 rounds. So I don't question his cardio anymore, because if you look at his fight with Eddie Alvarez, and even the one with early in the UFC with the Michael Johnson, you could tell that he considerably slowed down. Now, with that being said, Gaethje has never really fought someone that has tried to take him down like Khabib is going to. Like he does every fight, Khabib takes you down and he doesn't let you go. So, and I have seen Khabib guys in the later rounds where he's not able to take you down anymore at will. So if it ends up being that way where it gets to the 3rd, 4th round and Khabib is not able to take Gaethje down, and Gaethje still has full of energy, for sure Gaethje is gonna probably knock him out. So like I said, I don't see this as being as who's the better striker or the better wrestler, because we know Khabib has the better takedowns, better submissions, but Gaethje has the wrestling background, the credentials, and he's the better striker. I think it's all going to come down to cardio. Who is going to have more energy in the third, fourth round, fifth round to win? And I'm counting on Khabib. So I'm picking Khabib by submission, round 3. However, I'm going to be very vocal, but I am putting $50 on Gaethje because it's a win-win for me. Every now and then I come across a situation like this because Gaethje is paying right now plus 265. So if Gaethje wins, I make $130, $140. If Gaethje loses, then my prediction comes to, believe it or not, I care more about my prediction than $120. But if Khabib loses, then at least I made $120. So it is worth it at plus 265. I think the odds should be way different. I think Gaethje should be at like minus 170 or minus 18. I'm sorry, plus 170, plus 180. Not really minus plus 265, which is what he is right now. But yeah, like I said, the fact that I'm putting a bet on Gaethje, even though I'm picking Khabib, should tell you that Gaethje could very well upset. So Khabib by submission, round 3. Cannonier versus Robert Whittaker. I have Jared Cannonier knockout round 1. You know, when I talked about Whittaker when he fought Darren Till, I talked about how he's striking, that while he has a lot of power, his striking is not exactly technical or crisp or like very fundamentals. He throws wild telegraph, you know, haymakers that have a lot of power. Like, don't get me wrong, if they land clean, he'll knock you out. But his striking itself, it's not really like, you know, we're not talking about a Conor here or an Anderson Silva. You know, at moments, Whittaker comes out brawling. And if you look at his fight with Darren Till, see, a lot of people think that Darren Till won. Till clearly won round 1. Nobody can deny that. Whittaker clearly won round 2, and I think round 3 and 4 were like close enough where it could have gone either way. And then maybe Whittaker again, round 5. But yeah, a lot of people think that Till won that fight. I tried to watch the entire thing, and man, it was a boring fight. I made it to midway round 3, so I don't know what to think about it. But yeah, and then I have so much respect for Jared Cannonier because of his I mean, this guy was a heavyweight, but not because he's a huge guy, it's because he was fat. Like, if you watch his fights as a heavyweight, it was a fat guy with a huge belly, you know. He started to take his training serious, his I'm sure his diet serious. He dropped out to light heavyweight, but still you could tell he had a lot of body fat. He kept working at it, and now he's a middleweight and he has like an 8-pack. And this is not a young kid, you know. He's 36 right now, so, you know, for anyone trying to lose weight, you know, age doesn't matter. If you're late 30s, you can still get an 8-pack. but yeah, I mean, but that shows you that this guy's determination to train, going all the way from being a fat heavyweight to a cut and shredded middleweight, shows you that he puts the work, he puts the training into his thing. And I think that and if you watch his last 2 fights versus Hermansson, he destroyed Hermansson. It wasn't even competitive. Before that, he put a beating on Anderson Silva, and before that on David Branch. And like I said, maybe I give Whittaker a little bit the one-punch knockout power ability higher, but overall striking, I think Cannonier is better, and I think it's going to be a stand-up battle. If it was a 5-round fight, maybe I would also consider possibly leaning towards Whittaker, because he's had 5 rounds fight several times now, and he goes all 5 rounds. But being 3 rounds, I'm picking Cannonier by KO or TKO round 1. Not super confident on this one either. Because Whittaker, like I said, he has a lot of power, but Cannonier by KO or TKO. And then Volkov versus Walt Harris. I see this fight going kind of like, I have Volkov by decision. I see the fight going the way that Volkov was fighting Derek Lewis. If you remember that fight a couple of years ago, yes, Volkov won literally, I think 8 seconds before the fight was over, but he dominated Lewis all round 1, all round 2, 4 minutes, 52 seconds of round 3, and then, there's heavyweights and they have a lot of power. Lewis throws a huge haymaker and knocks Volkov out. So I definitely give Walt Harris, and Walt Harris last fight, he went in there and he looks like he was about to finish Overeem, and then he gassed himself out. Overeem survived, and then Walt Harris lost by TKO ground and pound. And before that, Walt Harris had been starting people round 1, so cardio might be an issue that he has, if he doesn't get you out of there round 1. However, Volkov, we've seen him fight guys with a lot of power, and Derek Lewis, Greg Hardy, and he's a very technical striker. His last fight versus Curry Blaze, he got humped into a decision. You want to see someone get humped into a decision, go watch Volkov versus Curtis Blades. But like I said, I give Walt Harris a very decent, well-deserved puncher's chance, but I think Volkov keeps the fight standing and picks him apart in the stand-up, pulls a decision. So Volkov by decision. Then, I'm running out of time here, gotta hurry up. Hawes versus Phil Hawes versus Jacob Malkoun. I have Phil Hawes, brutal knockout on 1. These guys are actually very similar as far as their approach. Leg kicks, overhand right, striking, a few takedowns, but I think what's going to make the big difference here is the power. Phil Hawes has 1-punch knockout power, and I was able to watch these guys both last fights, Hawes versus Bestev and Malkoun versus Temesi, and yeah, very similar in the approach, except that, like I said, Phil Hawes has true 1-punch knockout power, and he has the ability to take you down as well if he gets into trouble. I don't think Malkoun will be able to take him down. He's going to be forced to stand up, and eventually he's going to get caught with a right hand from Hawes. So Phil Hawes by brutal knockout on 1. And then Magomed Ankalaev and Cutelaba, the rematch. I see this fight going basically 90% or the way how it was going the first time. I mean, that fight lasted, I think, 38 seconds, and I agree that it was an early stoppage because Cutelaba was, you could tell he was rocked, you could tell he was dizzy, but he was still in the fight throwing back. However, I am convinced that had the referee let it go 10 more seconds or 15 more seconds, eventually he would have got knocked out. So while I do agree there wasn't as an early stoppage, I think it was inevitable. So I think that this time Ankalaev will actually get the same way, knockout round 1, except it won't be controversial. And if you watch the fight, he was very, the way he was fighting, you could tell he was aware of Cutelaba's power, but I think Ankalaev is just more technical, and he'll get the knockout. So I have Khabibg by submission round 3. However, I am putting $50 on Gaethje just in case he upsets. Cannonier TKO round 1, not super confident. Volkov by decision, but Harris has a puncher's chance. Phil Hawes by KO or TKO round 1, and Ankalaev by KO or TKO round 1. All right, guys, have a good one.